Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Ellsworth, and what we're going to be talking about is the relationships between pH, pOH, hydrogen ion concentration or hydronium ion concentration, but we keep it shorter by just writing that one, and then also the hydroxide ion concentration. There's a relationship between all of them. Anyway, so let's go and look at this. What is that relationship between pH and pOH? I don't know if you remember, but yesterday we discussed how that the two of them add up to 14. Okay, so there's a relationship between those two. So let's go and draw that in there, that there's a relationship between this one and this one. Okay, and also there's a relationship, how did you calculate the pOH? Well, you did it from the hydroxide ion concentration, so those two had a relationship too. But also likewise with the pH and the hydrogen ion concentration. There is no relationship that's one step, like just a simple calculation between pOH and hydrogen ion concentration. You'd have to find some other kind of relationship linking these two things together. There's another one that links these two together too. That's if you would multiply those two, that you would get 1 times 10 to the negative 14. Now let's think about these relationships. I told you yesterday that these added up to 14. So if you had a pH of 6 and a pOH of 8, they would add up to 14 and they'd be the same exact solution. Okay? And so also likewise when you go and you add up these two, but you're actually adding exponents when you multiply these two together. I don't know if you remember that from law of exponents. Anyway, so that'd be 1 times 10 to the negative 14 for that. So that's how you find those relationships, but just recognize that you cannot go, this right here is a relationship between these two. Here's a relationship between these two. Here's a relationship between these two, and finally a relationship between these two. There is no relationship between hydrogen ion concentration and pOH. You got to take a step in between. Usually students like to use this one because they like whole numbers, or I suppose I should say, they like real numbers that are not in scientific notation so much. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at a couple of these type of problems. Okay, so here are those relationships again. And now this is wanting the pH. And here's the hydroxide ion concentration. So what you have to do is you have to, first of all, what do you have for the hydroxide ion concentration? Find the pOH, or else you could find the hydrogen ion concentration with this Kw, a relationship. I don't know if you remember reading that in the book. But anyway, so this method right here, instead, you will look at this and maybe you recognize that this is 1 times 10 to the negative 3, which means that there's going to be a pOH of 3. So hydroxide ion concentration and the pOH are related again. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that so that we go and figure out this guy, pOH of 3. Then what is our relationship between OH and pOH and pH? It would be this 14 right here. So you go and subtract your pOH from 14 and you get 11. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Okay, recognize this one too. You want the pH, you're given the OH concentration, so you could also use this relationship by dividing 1 times 10 to the negative 3 into 1 times 10 to the negative 14. And so when you do that, you're going to find that, again, you subtract exponents, so it's going to be 1 times 10 to the negative 11, which really means a pH of 11. Because now once you divided it, you are now in the hydrogen ion concentration or the hydronium ion concentration. Okay, well, let's look at this just one more way. I think this diagram right here is really nifty. Okay, it shows that you can't get pOH from the hydrogen ion concentration. And it shows that you can't go straight from pH to get the hydroxide ion concentration. You got to take a step in between. Okay, so to get the pH from the pOH, okay, what would you do? You subtract it from 14, vice versa. Okay, so those two are the pretty nice ones that we like to deal with a lot. Now, to get the pH from the hydrogen ion concentration, we would go and take the negative log of it. To get the pH from the, to get the hydrogen ion concentration from the pH, you would take the anti-log of it. Okay? Okay, then let's go up this side here. You would do the same exact functions for this one to go from a pOH to an OH hydroxide ion concentration. So to get the pOH from this one, you would take the negative log of OH and get the pOH. Okay, what's really, really, really important right now is that you recognize the relationship here between the OHs and the H's. Okay, that you can't skip over from one to the other. Okay, and then another way of doing it is going, if you want the hydroxide ion concentration from this one, you would go and have to divide it. You would go and punch this in your calculators, 1 EE negative 14 divided by whatever pH hydrogen ion concentration you were given, and then you would get your value over here too. I have known lots of students that go 1, 2, 3 steps to do that because they're not confident with their scientific notation and division. Okay, remember, I mean, you don't always get nice, wonderful whole numbers down here, so it isn't always just a matter of subtracting your exponents like that. Anyway, this is an excellent diagram to keep handy in your notes to help you with your assignment that you have tomorrow. Okay, and that is going to be to find the pH and pOH of many types of hydrogen and hydroxide ion concentrations, and vice versa. You'd be going backwards, and then also working on a table where you're going from pH to pOH, or this way, or that way, or this way. So we have a table that you could use, but you do, if you have any problems with this format, please talk to me when you're practicing some of your calculations, but you really should have practiced that when that other video prior to this, so to make sure that you've got those calculations down with your calculator. But that's all I got for now, and then tomorrow you have a worksheet online for calculating pH, pOH, and also the concentrations. Bye now.